Hey everybody, good morning. Sarah here, coach and founder at Find Your Strong with Sarah, where we are all about tearing down the facade that fitness and nutrition is time consuming and complicated. Everything that we do here is about sustainability, enjoyability, satisfaction, effectiveness, and efficiency. So that being said, what I am about to talk about is something that everyone's been asking about. It is the 10-day JLo no carb, no sugar diet that I am on right now. And going back to what I just said, warming up this live, everything that we do is about sustainability here at Find Your Strong with Sarah. This no carb, no sugar diet for me and most of my clients, most people that I know, is not sustainable long-term. I'm talking it's not sustainable months and months at a time. Just because it is not 100% enjoyable for a lot of people that I know and that I coach. And it is not super conducive to a lot of social situations and a younger demographic. And I'll get into a little bit of that later because I will talk about the cravings and the urges and the stuff that I've had come up that will eventually curtail this lifestyle for anybody. That being said, I do think that this serves a really good purpose. I've really enjoyed this. So far, today is day 5. I'm planning on doing 7 or 8 days, but honestly, it's been so easy and enjoyable for me that I may extend it longer. So that's telling in and of itself. I want to also preface this by saying I do not have a perfect diet going into this. I do not have a perfect diet going into this challenge. I love sweets. I love muffins. I love candy. I love pastries. I love protein bars, protein cookies. So I was consuming a fair amount of sugar and carbohydrates going into this challenge. I love whole wheat bagels, sprouted toast, sweet potato gnocchi, carbs, bread. I love carbs and starches and sugar, and they are a part of my diet. So going into this challenge, people have asked me that and have commented that it would be too extreme for them to eliminate all those things. And my response is, if I can do it, you can do it. Honestly, I have shared very publicly, I have always had a very strong addiction to sugar, and it comes and goes in waves. I love sugar, and I will always have some sort of sugar or carb or starch in my life. And so again, if I can go from treating myself pretty frequently with those items to completely eliminating them, you can do it too. You really can if you want to do it and if it's a goal of yours and it's alignment with the desired outcome for you. So I decided to do this as an experiment. I decided to do this because I wanted to reset all the carbs and sugar that I've been indulging in and allowing myself to have. And I love JLo. I think that she's fantastic. And she had been talking about this a lot on social media. And I've been looking at a lot of her social YouTube videos and stuff lately. And she'd been talking about it so much. And I'm like, you know what? Why not just try it? It's so easy. Well, I didn't think that going in. I thought it was going to be very hard going in. The night before I started the challenge, I binge ate a lot of carbohydrates, a lot of, not a ton of sweets, but a ton of carbs, like a ton of cheesy bread at my girlfriend's house. I ate food because I knew that I was anticipating not having access to it. And I was anticipating wanting the food that I normally don't even eat anyways. I don't normally eat a ton of just plain bread. I'll eat sprouted, I'll eat it with avocado, I'll eat it with a purpose, I'll eat it with a protein, but I won't just eat fucking loaves of bread. But before this challenge, I was definitely eating loaves of bread the night before because I was really having some FOMO that I wasn't going to be able to have it. And I wanted to get as much of it in before I couldn't have it for 10 days. So that's a bit of the preface of the experience so far on the JLo no sugar, no carb diet. So, the first 24 to 48 hours were really challenging mentally, emotionally, physically. I wasn't having a ton of physical cravings, but mentally and emotionally, I was really fixated and obsessing over food. I was really fixated and obsessing over food that I couldn't have. And I would get my mindset on something that I saw someone eating, and I just wanted it so bad. I was like, I want donuts. I want fried pickles. Oh my God, I want this. And it was the knowledge that I couldn't have it that made it even stronger. So there is a lot of psychology and science and education around the minute we restrict ourselves and deprive ourselves of something, a heavy kickback happens. And in health coaching, we know that kickback, that restriction is going to have a bottom out. So that is going back to why this is not sustainable. I cannot white knuckle restrict myself from having bread for the rest of my life or for months on end. That is not realistic. So restriction and deprivation and resistance is a part of a muscle in the brain, and it's willpower. And that muscle in the brain we have to use our brain to resist that. It's exhaustible. So at some point we're going to lose our ability to resist the urge, and we're going to give in. And the more that we restricted, the harder we restricted ourselves, the harder we are going to give in to that vice, to that indulgence. So that is why really restrictive deprivation-based diets do not sustain themselves long term. And if we are not careful, when we start to reintroduce the foods that we've removed, we can go overboard and actually gain back a whole bunch of weight, or, put ourselves back to where we were when we started the diet in the first place. So they can be completely counterproductive and a waste of time in that regard if we aren't careful when we re-enter the world of eating carbs and sugar, for example. So I had some questions that you guys were sending in, and I'm going to answer all your questions today. And if you're tuning in live, I see a lot of people tuning in and tuning out. Stay on and comment below. Tell me what your questions are. You guys are like DMing me, you're messaging me, you're texting me, you're calling me, you're asking me in and out of sessions if you're a client. Now is your time to ask all your questions about the JLo no carb, no sugar diet that I've been doing, and I will answer all of them here, because most of you have the same questions. So I've already kind of addressed the craving situation. I thought that I would have a lot stronger craving for sugar than I did. Physically, I thought I would have some more withdrawals and sensations, which I have not had. I did, truthfully, transparently, I was consuming a fair amount, if not more than the average person, of sugar going into this challenge. So I had expected a withdrawal process to happen. Around day 3, I did get a little foggy. I was dealing with a little bit of lightheadedness, but there were other factors in play with hormone and heat that I don't know how much of had a role in that fogginess or lightheadedness. So the cravings for sugar and carbs have been more mental and emotional because I've placed the restriction around having them. I haven't really had physical urges for those things. I have thought about sugar when I talk about it, and sometimes it does cause me to salivate, and I see that there is a really strong mental connection between it. So that's been really interesting to see. But in terms of overwhelming cravings to have things, they've come and gone in waves, and they've been towards the beginning of this, like on day 1 and 2, because of, I feel, the restriction that I had put in place. The other question that I've been getting a lot of is energy. So people are asking me, how is your energy? This is probably one of the craziest, most noticeable things that I have experienced thus far. My energy is through the roof. So my energy is super, super high. It feels very, very clean, and it's not dipping. Previously, no matter how good of a starch or carb you have, your energy is going to do this. So a carbohydrate, simple or complex. So a simple carbohydrate is like sugar processed goods. A simple carbohydrate is going to be consumed and broken down by the body very rapidly. So you're going to have spikes of energy, which is why like sugary breakfasts and white pastas, they're going to cause a spike in the insulin and then a very big crash. So people that are eating a lot of simple carbohydrates are going to have very spiky, rapid energy increases and decreases, which leads to a lot of fatigue, leads to a lot of overall caffeine consumption and just general lethargy. And it leads to more consumption of those carbs because it's the easiest way for our body to get that quick fix. So it becomes an addicted cycle in and of itself. It's really interesting to see if people at this point don't comprehend the fact that our food directly dictates the way that our bodies feel and function, you are fucking missing a beat. It is incredible. It's an incredible impact to link your food with your feelings. So we're talking about energy sustainability here. So the biggest thing that I've noticed about this is my energy has not dropped since I have started this diet. I've actually reduced my caffeine consumption and I've reduced the feeling of needing caffeine. I love 2 cups of matcha in the morning. I used to love coffee. I've tried to come off of it because it's not good for my anxiety. But I've had maybe 1 cup of tea or maybe 1 cup of matcha with no sugar in it. And my energy has been normal. So what I've noticed about the energy is I've had no crashes. So previously, even with protein bars, with sprouted bread or sprouted bagels or muffins or bags of candy, any of that stuff causes a lot of spike in energy. So I'm really energetic and then I have a slump, which is typical for most people. And then we eat more of the carb because carb is sugar and the body and the brain knows it's sugar and it knows it's going to give it a fix and it's going to get us back up into the high energy. And until you eat it again, you are low energy. So, sorry, I want to keep the comments up because I want to see everyone's comments, but I'm distracted. Betsy says she's been doing this, and has lost 40 pounds over the past year. So, which is awesome. The biggest takeaway so far has definitely been energy is bananas. I can relate it to years ago and over the years, I have experimented with intermittent fasting, which is where you consume calories in a set window and you fast for a set window. For me, for a woman with hormones, I like to eat food within a 10-hour window and fast for 14. And that just basically puts you in a ketosis state so that you can burn fat. It's kind of ketone, whatever. I've never really followed it for that reason. I followed it because it helps me be lean and I like the way that it made me feel. An impact or an effect of intermittent fasting has always been increased energy for me. So, what I'm doing by eliminating carbohydrates and sugar is essentially putting my body into ketosis and to burn ketones. So you're burning fat, which is a more reliable source of fuel than carbohydrates and sugar. And especially if you have a couple pounds of fat to lose, you're going to burn that fat pretty efficiently. It's just burning. So as a result of that, your energy is stable, which is incredible. So my energy, if you can tell, has been very high. It's actually been a little too high in some regards. Like I have had a hard time going to bed and sleeping and powering down. That's something that also happened when I was doing intermittent fasting. I used to call it like sundowners. I know there's like a medical condition that's really challenging for people called sundowners. So I'm not referring to that. I'm referring to as soon as the sun goes down, my energy kind of spikes again, and like stays really high in the evenings because it's a prime time biologically to burn fat towards the end of the day and going into rest. So that's been a little challenging, but I've just like made it work. The other questions I've been getting are about sugar. So people want to know how strict I've been about the sugar, and people want to know if I've cut out natural sugars as well as processed sugars. So right now, I've already spent several minutes going into very authentic, transparent detail about how much sugar I was consuming before I started this 10-day no sugar, no carb. Please go back to the beginning so that you can really get a vivid picture for how much sugar I was consuming. I am like an everyday human American person. I was consuming sugar, a fair amount, if not significant amount of sugar. So I was really originally concerned about eliminating that sugar. I have been very strict with the elimination of sugar. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying I don't have a lot of issues with condiments. So we need to think about our sugar being in salad dressings, being in ketchup, being in mustard. Sugar is everywhere. So I don't eat a lot of ketchup. So I didn't have to really worry about all those hidden places. I have completely cut out sugar. So I have 0 processed sugar in my diet at this point. The only places I am getting sugar from, which are allowed, a very small amount of strawberries and blackberries, pretty much every day. You know, probably less than 1 or 2, maybe like 2 to 5 grams of sugar. When I'm hiking or in the outdoors, I'm having a green apple or a banana for the carbohydrates, for that extraneous activity and not having accessibility to a ton of veggies if I'm in the backcountry. So I have those when I'm in the mountains. And then I've had a couple squares of cacao, which is really hard to factor in how much sugar is in there. A bar of cacao is 3 grams of sugar. And so 1 square of it is probably like 0.005 grams of sugar. That's all the sugar I've had. Full transparency. Right now I do have I have a box of Power Bars in my, or 1 bars in my cabinet. I haven't had any. Salad dressing has 0 sugar in it. It's just a basic balsamic Greek vinegar dressing. My almond butter doesn't have any sugar in it. My guacamole doesn't have any sugar in it. I'm not cooking spice blends or herb blends that have sugar in it. I'm not putting any sugar in my matcha. There's no sugar in my almond milk. There is no sugar. I'm not putting any simple syrups in any of my beverages. I'm drinking straight homemade soda water. I have a little lemon in there. I think that might be like 0.0005 grams of the carb. So that's fine with me. That amount of water consumption is another thing I want to talk about. So the answer is this. I have eliminated sugar. And you will have to eliminate sugar if you want to do this as well. It is a lot easier than you think, and I believe that you can do it. So the next question is about meals and the sugar elimination and meat and veggies. So yes, sugar has been eliminated. I have not had any carbs. I have not had cauliflower rice. I have not had sweet potatoes. I have not had sprouted grains. I haven't had white pastry or white carbs, brown carbs. I haven't had even like the healthiest of carbs. I haven't had a piece of toast. I haven't had protein bars. I haven't had protein shakes. The only carbohydrates I've had are what I've just explained. I've had some blackberries. I've had some strawberries, which are technically allowed. And then I've had vegetables. So Brussels sprouts, red peppers, carrots, zucchini, squash, cucumbers, and a lot of salad. So someone else was in peas, carrots, green beans. I think that's a good variety of vegetables. And corn. I had corn on the cob, which was delicious. I devoured it. It was so good. So I have removed all carbs except for the carbohydrates that you find in vegetables, and very, very, very small amount of fruits. And going back to what I just talked about with energy, I feel really fucking great with my energy. Day 3, I was foggy, but other than that, I've been fine. This is a pretty protein-based diet. So I've had a lot of boiled eggs. I've had a lot of grilled chicken. I've had a lot of salmon. I'm going to smoke some salmon with some hickory boards today on the grill. I'm probably going to do the same thing with some shrimp. And I think that's the gist of the eggs I've had, or the protein I've had. I'll probably do some sausage, some clean, lean sausage as well. Again, you have to be prioritizing the protein. And I've had some clean pieces of turkey bacon that don't have any, they're uncured. There's no sugar in the turkey bacon. So my breakfast right now is a tomato slice with some avocado. And this morning I did hard-boiled eggs because I didn't have any more eggs to put on the stove, with hard-boiled egg and a piece of turkey bacon. And I'm having like 3 or 4 of those little like deconstructed basic like egg sandwiches, BLTs if you want to think about it that way. They're amazing. They're super delicious. Vegetables are actually more filling than any other food group. So I've been a lot fuller than I thought I would be. I sit down to go to a meal and I just want to eat so much food. But since I'm eating so many veggies, I fill up on the veggies. And so that's been, you know, in terms of volume, veggies take up a lot more volume in your belly. So it is a pretty meat-based diet. So what we're thinking about here is we have to think about muscle maintenance and muscle preservation. So we need to preserve muscle mass by giving it protein and making sure our protein levels are adequate so that we actually burn fat. Since we have no carbs to burn, the next thing it's going to burn, it's going to try to burn protein and or fat. But if we're fueling enough protein, we're kind of balancing it out. It's getting everything it needs. The protein synthesis process is not going to break down in our body. It's going to tap into fat. Now, this is a balance, and this is where a lot of people screw up. But this is also why things like the keto diet and paleo diet, this is how things become popular, is because of this concept. So it is a lot of it is a lot of veggies and it is a lot of meat. So people are asking about meals. So I just shared you my breakfast. For dinner, it's typically been, in lunch, it's been huge servings of protein. So I took that Greek salad dressing and marinated chicken with it and grilled it. And it fucking is delicious. It's amazing. And it serves great in a Greek salad or as a side dish. So I've been eating big pieces of protein, mostly chicken and shrimp and salmon right now because that's what I made. I'm going to do some shrimp and some more fish today and some sausage, and huge beds of salad with, lettuce, romaine, kale, carrots, cucumbers, tomatoes, and some walnuts and or peanuts. Those are allowed as well. Yesterday, I walked into the gym with a huge salad that I had made, and someone was sitting there eating fried pickles and food from the barbecue place next door, and several people commented and looked at that and at my salad, and they said, "Oh my God, that looks so good." And the person eating the fried pickles even said that. So you can make a really great salad in varieties that are really satisfying and appeasing and pleasing to you. So those are kind of like my lunch and dinners, and I explained my breakfast. My snacks can be some carrots and vegetables with guacamole or salsa. You can do salsa if there's no sugar in it or it's something that you've made from home. My snacks, I've been using like boiled eggs and a handful of the berries or the nut butter. It's really not that bad. And I'm not as snacky as I normally am, which is really interesting. So that's some info about meals. Right now, my favorite meal is breakfast. I love the breakfast. It's super, 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 super good. One thing that is also an effect of the no carbohydrates is going to be water consumption. So when you consume carbohydrates hold water, almost 3 ounces of water per gram of carbohydrate. So the more carbs you consume, the more water you are going to hold within that carbohydrate within the muscle. So that's what people talk about when they say I'm carved out or I'm really puffy from carbs. If you come off of a weekend of eating a lot of carbohydrates, you're going to be holding a lot of water, which means you're going to be puffy and excessive with water weight. So when you eliminate the carbohydrates, you eliminate a place for your body to hold water. So I am drinking a lot of water. I'm very thirsty a lot of the time. And I'm having to pee a lot. So I've never really had to wake up in the middle of the night to pee since I know how to stop drinking liquids before I go to bed. And even though I stopped drinking liquids before I went to bed, I definitely was getting up in the middle of the night to pee, very strong urges to pee, which is very abnormal for me. But it's super, super common for anybody that's not doing carbs because water is just going to kind of go through you more quickly. That being said, I have gotten a handle of it, and the last 2 nights I haven't had that issue because I've really just cut the beverage off earlier in the day, and it hasn't been disrupting my sleep. So the water consumption is a little bit of an unknown side effect, but it's just something good to know going in. I wish someone had told me about it. So far the feedback from my body has been really positive. My energy is really high. My cravings are definitely manageable. They're not out of control. I've definitely lost, I didn't weigh myself, but I took photos, so we'll see. I've definitely depuffed in my midsection in my belly, which is really a typical place for women in particular to hold carbohydrates and hold water and be puffy. So I've definitely leaned out there. It's TBD if the effects my body has had are from carbohydrate, water loss, or fat loss. The only way to know if it is fat loss, which is going to remain off of you, no matter if you put the carbs back on or not, into the diet, is as soon as I introduce some more carbohydrates and sugar into my diet, if the weight doesn't come back up or change drastically, then it's pretty solid evidence that there was a fat burn loss versus just carbohydrates. If I start eating some carbs and my weight goes right back up instantly, it can be evidence that yes, I'm holding more water. Yes, I have more carbs, but I may have just not really lost any fat, which means I didn't allow myself to stay on the ketosis long enough. So anyways, that's a lot of nitty gritty. But you guys are asking about it. So I wanted to make sure I answered all of your questions. That's why this is a longer video. Please go back and listen to this video. Like, just put it on and listen to it and drive or go for a walk so you get all the information from this. I really like it. I really like this. Like, I like it so much that I'm like, well, maybe I can do it for more than 7 or 8 days. Maybe I just don't drink this weekend when I have a social event, which is the biggest challenge I've had. I've been grilling, and like, I just got the grill. It's summer and I want a fucking beer, and I'm not drinking any alcohol. Obviously, there's carbohydrates and sugar and just no alcohol. If you're not eating carbohydrates, you really, really don't want to drink a whole bunch of alcohol because your body is doing a lot of processing with burning fat, and there's just not a lot of cushion of carbs, and it's kind of challenging on your kidneys and your liver to consume a lot of alcohol. So yeah. And then I have like social situations coming up that it's going to be really challenging for me not to just like have a drink. So that's why I know long-term it's not sustainable for me, but I may be able to get through this weekend without having a drink in these social situations because I feel so good. I feel so good that I'm motivated to do it longer because I want to keep feeling this good. Memorial weekend is next weekend, and I'm definitely going to have beer. So I may just go with this through next Wednesday. I did play 6 matches of volleyball last night with no carbohydrates, and my energy was fine during the games, and I feel fine today. It was really challenging not to drink alcohol in that situation. So next Wednesday, I really want to drink alcohol when I play volleyball. But other than the alcohol and some of the carbs, it's been a lot easier than I thought. I think it's great for people who want to kind of do a reset without going crazy. I've not gone crazy with this. I haven't obsessed any more than the first day or two. And that was me just getting a handle on this change in my behavior and my lifestyle. But it hasn't been obsessive. It is a little bit time consuming with the cooking and the prep and making sure I have food available, and especially not going to a default like bar or carbs or something like that. It's been challenging in terms of prep and time, but not unmanageable. It's definitely something that I can still manage, and if I can manage it, you can manage it. So I encourage anyone who's really thinking about testing their body out to see how they respond to no carbs and no sugar. This is a really fun way to do it. again, it's manageable, it's enjoyable. I feel right now that the pros and the pros have definitely outweighed any cons. And the biggest positive is I feel really fucking good. My energy is really stable. My mental clarity is high. I have zero brain fog. So for some people that are experiencing a lot of energy dips and fogginess and lethargy, like maybe trying something like this will be a really fun way to see how you respond and how you can improve your overall health and emotional and physical well-being by just doing something really simple. It is a lot easier to do this when it's a blanket statement, no carb, no sugar. If you allow yourself a couple of things like, oh, I can have this and I can have this, then you have to start rationalize and reason why you can and cannot have other things, and it takes a lot more mental energy. So it's been really easy to just say no of nothing. Easier than I thought. So I'm going to end this because this has been long, but I wanted to get a good, detailed conversation about this going. If you have any additional questions, DM me or add them to the comments of the video and I can go back in and respond to them later, or do another video. I'm sure I'll do more videos about this as I continue to progress into the timeline of it. But for now, I just wanted to bring you up to date. So today is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Today is day 5. Today's Thursday. Yeah, today's day 5. Yeah. Okay. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.